Hello, Melanie. Welcome to Power Women Wellness. How are you today? It's Friday.
It's Friday and I am doing great.
Love it. Well, I'm excited we get to connect with you and learn more about what you do. And then I know as I was reading your questionnaire that we have you fill out before we record, I'm like, oh, I love just everything that you're bringing, all the wellness things. So I can't wait to get into it. So first, we'll just start off with tell us what you do, how you got into this industry that you're in.
Yes. So I was a probation and parole officer for 14 years. So I started my first chapter there, which is always very surprising for how I've now ended, right? Well, I don't know if we're
Yeah.
ending. We're gonna see how this goes. I'm just kidding. I did that for 14 years and I really specialized in working with battered women and working on some protocols with the state and legislature and everything. So it was actually really rewarding. However, it was obviously a very intense and heavy day every single day.
I bet.
It was life or death. And so at that time I was getting married and I knew that the next chapter was gonna be children. And I just carried around a heaviness and, to be honest, some PTSD of, what's going to happen next with my victims. And so I
Mm.
went to the Aveda Institute. And so they're headquartered here in Minneapolis, Minnesota. So
Okay.
I did that and I went to aestheology program. And so the study of skin, and I just fell in love with it. And once I graduated, I still wasn't sure what exactly I was going to do, but I was interested in makeup. So I did some, editorial makeup for magazines, but I was still in my full-time career. But to celebrate my graduation, I was going to Mexico. So I was looking for a spray tan. And this was in like 2010.
Mhm.
And at that time, I'm super, super pale from Minneapolis, where we kind of all like, we don't see the sun much, so I think we get like 3 or 4 months of it. But at that time, there was the Mystic Tan booths. And we kind of, some of us back, from way back in the day had that experience of kind of being locked in and you can't breathe. It's firing the solution at you. It's going all different places. And I just knew I couldn't do that. So I found a makeup artist and she was doing spray tans, but she was doing it very customized. And so when I left, I was a brown tint. I was not an orange tint. And I was looking at myself like, oh my gosh, I feel amazing. Like the confidence off the charts. Got to Mexico wearing my cute bikinis, like feeling good, right? So it just like infused that confidence in me. And I started thinking, well, I want this done literally like every week, but the high cost of it, my career, I was like, I can't do that. So I started my company by maxing my credit card at that time, and it was a $5,000 max. That's how that's how we were doing then.
Oh my gosh, I love a good story that starts like that
I
though.
know. And so I bought a machine and I called my sister and I was like, girl, get over here. You got to learn how to do this with me. And, like we'll do them weekly for each other. And then it was catching on with friends. And she owned a clothing boutique and she still does. She does very well. And so honestly, it kind of caught like wildfire and everyone's like, I want one. I want one. And so then I started to process, what does this look like for a business and a side hustle? I started as a mobile. So I grabbed that machine and after work, I would go out in the metro and pop up. And I really loved connecting with the clients and just having that positive experience. And so I scaled that to 4 vehicles in the metro area. The demand was really high. So then I then had my first location in a solo salon. And
Mhm.
that was again, we were crowding the hallways, and Solo was like, girl, you gotta,
Get out of here.
find something else. This isn't gonna work. And so I did my very first brick and mortar storefront in 2015, and I built out 3 rooms, thinking, oh, I'll take this one room, I'll triple it. It's gonna be great, right? Hold my breath, cross my fingers. And within that year, we had to bust out walls, and it was 6 rooms.
Oh my
So then I'm
gosh.
starting to make some money. And so then I started looking at the skincare products that I was selling. And then I was looking at the solutions. I was looking at the equipment. And I just was always thinking I can do better. There's a high alcohol concentrate in these solutions. It's drying skin. People are breathing it in. So I literally just started kind of knocking off things one at a time of how I can improve this entire experience for the clients and really focus on healthy skin and inhalation and breathing. And so that's why I have my patented air equipment. So when you come into a goGLOW, you're breathing clean air. And then of course the skincare line that complements it. Super long answer, but there's so much.
I
That's how
love
I
all
got
that.
started. That's
I
how we
love all that. I love all that. And I actually, as you were talking about like your wins, and I love that. And all of us are either climbing up the corporate ladder or running a business. Were there any fears before the wins? Because I love like we see the highlight reel, we see like everything that we have succeeded, but no one sees all the tears, all
got.
the bucket moments. So like, what was going through your mind? Like what were some big fears or worries that you had before you had those wins?
Yeah, I mean, it is right. Okay, so when I started the mobile business, I was, getting married, like I said, and I got pregnant right away. Was not planning to get pregnant right away, but then it was like, okay, well, now I need to hire my first employee because I'm not going to be schlucking this 70-pound machine around and being pregnant. That's not a good look for anybody, right? And so I hired my first employee, and having like literally, I have built this company and this brand honestly on just a figure it out mode. I did
Yeah.
not come from a background of entrepreneurs. I did not come from a background of business. And so literally I would say, and it's still at that moment where I'm like, oh shit, like
Always.
I've just got to figure it out. And I think that that's a strong mentality that's, pretty rare. And I think that you find the entrepreneurs that have made it, they're the ones that really go to their gut and just say,
Mm,
what's the worst that can happen? You know, I mean, I have been extremely broke before. I can do that. I
yeah.
can build again. And so I can't even say that I've gotten past the oh shit moments,
I
of
don't think so, because there's always the next
oh,
level that we don't know.
oh my gosh,
There's
it
always
just
those
keeps
shits.
going. Right. And sometimes I think to myself, I'm like, wow, girl, look what you created. And then it's like, wow, look at all these other like bigger
Yeah.
issues that come along with that. So you don't ever,
Yes.
and you shouldn't. And I'm one of those people where it's like, if you look at your business and you do not see things that you can improve, you're not looking. You've checked out.
Yeah.
There's
Oof.
always something to do. There's
Yeah.
always something to improve on. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I love that. And I know some of the products that you create too are more associated with like the clean beauty.
yeah,
And I think as consumers, obviously we talk a lot about that. We do a lot of like environmental toxin
yeah,
testing in our practice through people's urine. And so we see these phthalates and parabens and BPA and
yes.
glyphosate and all this stuff. And so I think as a consumer, I've always had the question of like, is like, why is there not more clean beauty products? Is there something that consumers don't see behind the scenes that make it really
Mm.
difficult to create those?
No, they just cost more. And so when you see
Mhm.
these large, like, and what's happening a lot is, private equity, these huge giants like Unilever, they're snatching up all of these product lines. They're replacing their ingredients with cheap, low cost, um,
Yeah,
ingredients. And so whenever
more
we,
profit.
yeah, it 100% all is. And like my ingredients. And so I would go one by one on each deck of what product I was building, and saying, okay, can this ingredient be organic? Because some just cannot, right? But
Yeah,
you definitely get the cleanest ones you can. And if it's organic, where is it sourced from? How is that sourced? And
yeah,
so, especially right now, when things are happening with tariffs and things, and we get ingredients from all over the world, it is it's a commitment. And if I lose part of my profit margin, then I lose part of my profit margin. I have a
yeah,
strong commitment to making sure that what we put on our skin, I will put it on my baby's diaper rash. I will put it on my children's sunburn. That's my product. This is what I live and I breathe and I use. And so if it's
yeah.
going on my body, then it's going to be clean. It's going to be recognized by my body. It's not going to be foreign to it. And so those are the things that are really important for me.
I love that. But I love that commitment because I think more than ever, which for us, there's never been like, when we see patients, there's never been like, oh my gosh, there's this one thing. And that's that one thing. Like it was just eating unhealthy. It's usually a combination.
Oh yeah.
And so it's like, where can we like reduce the exposure as much as we can? Because absolutely, we walk out our front door, there's no control. We have no control over the pollution in a sense, like a direct contribution to it. And so it's just like, well, what are we doing? What we are spraying and putting on our skin, like that's just an easy switch to. And so that's why like I'm
Yeah.
always trying to find those clean brands, and I will always be willing to pay for more because you get what you pay
Mhm.
for. And yeah, I just create the
Right.
demand with my money.
Yeah. And with clean ingredients, you have a higher efficacy, right? And
Yeah.
so not only has that brand or that company invested in that agreement or ingredient, you're also getting a high efficacy. So if you do have to pay more, you're getting obviously better quality. And I think that people who do look at labels, they do spin them around. And that's what, with goGLOW, we lead with it being a skin treatment. We lead with skin education and ingredient education because we want people to, if they aren't going to purchase a goGLOW product, I want you to, at a minimum, spin that label around and pick one ingredient that we've taught you about,
Yeah.
and go back
Yeah.
to and take a look at it, and another thing to really consider is the American Medical Association and their commitment and their connections to
Yeah.
these large companies, and they will recommend products that we know are
Yeah.
going to be good for your skin, but they get, their kickbacks or whatever the case is. So it's very
Yeah.
dicey out there for consumers.
Very dicey. And I feel like with your background, you probably know it's a dicey world out
Oh yeah.
there.
I've seen the underbelly. I've worked in it.
And obviously, as you know, being an entrepreneur, it is so hard because you're in hustle mode, but you're also trying to take care of yourself and take care of your family. So, what are some of this is like a foundational question for our podcast. It's like, what are some of your daily commitments that you do to take care of yourself, make sure you have the energy, make sure you just have that wellness in your personal life?
Yeah. I mean, as a whole, the number one sort of umbrella for me is I have learned through my path of life of really setting healthy boundaries with people. I am now, obviously from my prior career, but I celebrated my 50th birthday this year. And so I'm at this point where I'm just like, okay, if you are not contributing to my life and how I feel or what I am doing in a healthy manner, I just sort of do the slow roll back, right? I'm not going to have
Yeah.
a confrontation with anybody by any means, but I do protect my peace, because if somebody is sort of shattering that every single day for you, and
Yeah.
then I have kids, I have, a combination of 5 kids. I have 2 of mine and my fiance has 3. So we have 5 kids. And I know that if something happens in my workday and it's toxic and I get into a mode of like, "Ugh," then it naturally is going to come out, right? And it's
Yeah.
like our families don't deserve that. And I want to be able to role model for my kids, like, look, you will be, coming across people who are toxic, and
Yeah.
recognizing that, not internalizing it, and just even if it's just in your mind, just like politely excusing yourself from that relationship.
Oh, I love that. I know any other advice for creating boundaries. To me, this has always been kind of easier. I don't know if it's just my personality, I think it is,
Mhm.
but a lot of people really struggle with it. So like what are some of like your top advice for creating healthy boundaries? Because it
Yeah.
is absolute need.
It is. And I just had a conversation with a very close friend of mine this week, and she's a really heavy empath, which I am too. And she takes on energy of, she takes it on. And I'm like, at some point you have to recognize it immediately. People do put themselves in their own situations of life, but you can't take on that heaviness. And she's like, I just want to go home and cry. And I'm like, girl, like, I appreciate that. And I love that about you. However, that's not going to be functional in your life. And I think that's, from seeing so much devastation and violence and everything in my prior career, I'm able to compartmentalize that. And it's honestly, I am an empath as well. However, really always putting yourself first in your own brain and like how these conversations are going. And you're just like, is this an energy I want to take in for myself or not?
I really love that. Yes. Yeah, I feel like that's always been kind of natural for me. Also being an empath, I think
Mhm.
most healthcare practitioners are, but I do think that there needs to always, I always say a healthy dose of like selfishness.
Yes.
Because in order for me to show up for my family and the people I care about in my life, like I just don't want them to have like the worst part of me. And so that's why also I think having kids too is naturally a motivator for me because I want to make sure like my kids, I'm leading by example because that they are learning to make that a priority because a lot of people don't. And so they kind of
Yeah.
are those people pleasers and they are kind of pushovers, but then they really struggle with like the stress aspect and
Yeah.
like just, I don't know, being really burnt out because they can't, it's hard for them to make that. And so I always say like everything that I do, my kids are watching me. And I feel like that just is naturally motivating for me to like make sure that I am filling up my cup, but they are seeing me fill up my cup so they
Yes.
can get the best version of like mom.
Yeah. Yeah. That's 100% well said. Beautifully
Yeah.
said.
Yeah. And so any more of the daily commitments that you do,
Mhm.
like do you have a routine or no, it's just like I just have some non-negotiables that I do every day, like journaling or meditation or eating good food,
Yeah.
anything along those
Yeah.
lines.
I mean, for me right now, we started franchising. It'll be 2 years here in July. And so,
My gosh, that's a
um,
beast.
yeah. Oh, it is like nothing I've ever experienced in my entire life. I've never worked so hard, sun up, sun down, 24/7, because I am am making a huge commitment to people who are investing in me and my brand. And so it's literally no sleeping. It is it and it's a phase of life right now, you know. And so
Yeah.
I I was thinking about this question. I'm like, I'm probably not the best person to talk about it, but I do feel like I'm emotionally moving through this very well. I'm
Yeah.
very resilient. And like I said, and I believe strongly that is my boundaries, that I'm protecting my mental
I love
health,
that.
protecting my feelings, I'm protecting how I'm coming out to people, you know? And so honestly, you know, for your listeners, I'm in a grueling chapter, and I think I've got another maybe year and a half, but I think I'm doing extremely well,
I love that.
managing. I mean, pat myself on the back sometimes because it's really hard, you know. I mean, it is. I have been brought to my knees on devastation for a lot of different, you know, things that I didn't see coming, but at this
Yeah.
time, I will experience that and I will feel it, and just and maybe the next day I just get up and I say, okay, what can we do next that's going to improve this, or
Yeah.
that situation probably won't happen again, and just move through it. So, you know, I'm at one of those crossroads that I think it is to be spoken upon, because not everybody can get up at 4 a.m. and take their ice baths and do their work. Like
Yeah.
it is 100% like that would be really great. And I do work very hard to get to that point. But right now, if anybody else is in a season of just really hard
Yeah.
work, and your nose is at the, you know, the grindstone, I'm here with you. And that's where I'm at
Yeah.
now. But I'm really preserving my mental health, to be
I
honest.
love that. I love that. I know. And I'm like, that's why I like interviewing different people because they're in different stages, day stages
Mhm.
where it's kind of like we're coasting, we're good, like no major growth. And some people are in growth mode. And so some
Yeah.
things are like left behind and they have some things that exactly like they prioritize the most. And so I love getting different insight on that because we all are going to be going through all these different seasons. It just
Yes,
depends on where. So just kind
exactly.
of also, like, I don't know, just knowing that there's other people out there that are doing the same thing
And
and
I'm
we're
honest about it.
surviving, okay?
Yes, I'm honest about it. And prior to franchising, you know, I had my corporate stores, and I can tell you my life was completely different then. I'd wake up, I'd go work out, I'd
Wow.
go get coffee, like my life was wonderful, right? And then it's like, okay, I'm gonna turn another page. I'm gonna go back into this, you know, in an insane chapter, and that's what I'm gonna go do. But yeah, there's certain like periods of life where sometimes it's more balanced than others, and that's why, you know, what the feat of what I'm doing now, building this huge national brand and structure, is something that literally nobody does, because
Yeah.
it's so difficult. So I'm honoring
Yes.
that. I am honoring the season I'm in, and I know that, you know, the season before this I was doing just great. So let's get.
Hey, I know that too because we thought about franchising as well, and I it's a control thing. So I think that's what it really came down to for me. But I was just like, wow, that it's a lot. It's a whole separate beast.
Yes, it is 100%.
So, and I know too that you mentioned wanting to chat a little bit more about like confidence and wellness and how that intersects with entrepreneurship. So I'd love for you to take that however you want to take that because I feel like I would love to hear that.
Yeah, you know, I feel like we're probably on the same, like, I don't know why I'm like this, but I am, you know, type of thing, where it's like I
Yes.
do have a resilience, I do have a confidence, I do have a really strong sense of self. And
Hmm.
like you said earlier, I'm not sure where that comes from, to be honest. And I
Yeah.
wish I knew, because I would be able to speak to it more. But I I know that, like, when I got my first spray tan, I know that feeling, right? And every single time I get a goGLOW, I'm like, that feeling is amazing. And I wanted to be able to bring that, you know, to the market. And I think that, you know, right now our clientele is definitely 90% women. I've
Hmm.
spent literally my whole life and career in working with women. And even if it's just like just a spray tan, like anything that I can tailor an experience for
Yeah.
women feel better through their day, to carry themselves, you know, stronger, and confidence in entrepreneurship. It's I don't think you get as far as I've gotten without it.
I agree.
You cannot move forward without it.
I mean, I think of it just like when they say like dress up, right? Like when we're dressed, we are in a different like
Yeah.
mindset and mood and the confidence that we exude. It's so different. So I can definitely see that with spray tanning too,
Yes.
just being put together.
Yes, exactly. And like before we started this, we were talking. I was like, "Hey, it's like a wellness morning for me." I did my goGLOW self tanner. I've got no makeup on, and I'm like, and then I think about makeup, and I think about when you have it on, it's almost like a war paint, right? You're like
Yeah.
ready. Like there's nothing that can stop you. It's that same feeling of having a
Yeah.
goGLOW where you're like, I'm ready. Nothing can stop me.
Yeah.
I look good. Look good,
Yeah.
feel good, right?
That's just like our we were talking about lashes. I'm like, yeah, exactly. Like draw
Yes.
on my lashes. I'm like, I'm ready to freaking go and take on the day. But without lashes, I'm like, I want to chill.
Yes, exactly. And that's the thing with, I mean, I used to get it when I first started goGLOW, and it was like people would ask me what I do, and I tell them I own a spray tan company. It was just like, oh, like, oh, that's cute. But I'm like, oh my gosh, like, okay, I'll take that for a minute from you. But like the overall arching, brand promise of goGLOW is about confidence. It's about feeling good, and it's about confidence in what's going on your skin. And that's why our commitment to clean beauty and our commitment to our ingredients and our commitment to our education is so strong with my brand. And that's why I firmly believe like the market, we've kind of all been, the spray tanning has let down a lot of people, and I think it's time for somebody, and I'm okay to take that role of just setting a national standard of raising the bar and making sure that if you're going to look for a spray tan, because it's a multi-billion-dollar industry, this is something that people want,
Yep.
deserve better. And at the end
Yeah.
of the day, goGLOW is going to bring that to you.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that so much. Okay. But as we end it too,
Yeah.
share us
Oh,
any
it's over
pod
soon. Oh
I
no.
know, I know. It goes by so fast. Share with us books, podcasts, resources that have helped you both in the entrepreneurship, but also if there's any health too. No worries if not. But I always love to hear like the biggest resources that people like swear by. I'm
Yeah.
a book reader.
I used to, when I was building the company, I used to listen to, there's a podcast called Franchise Secrets. And when I was building the brand, I was thinking about if I was going to franchise. So I would just kind of build it that way. But I listen religiously to Franchise Secrets by Eric Van Horn. And then anything with Allie Webb, right? She built something so incredible. She took it, she was an expert at one, blowout, and then she did the hairline around it. It is so anything with Allie Webb, honestly, I really make sure that I tune into that. And of course, Brene Brown, she's
Yeah.
so powerful. I love podcasts. I gotta say, I don't do much reading because of just I'm always on the move type of thing. But podcasts for me are just a nice snippet when I'm driving, my kids to hockey or to baseball or all these things. So
Yeah.
I really like to tune in the Founders podcast with I can't know the name. It's the Founders podcast, but he does one on Estee Lauder. Oh, it is so good. Everybody should really listen to that one about a woman who never stopped and never took no, and she built such an amazing company. So
Okay, amazing. Ooh, and these are new ones too. I feel like, I mean, obviously Brene Brown is pretty common,
yeah,
but all these other ones, I'm like, ooh, I haven't heard them. So I'm glad that we
yeah.
brought new resources. Okay, so where can people find you? Social media, website, we'll put it in the show notes, but where are you at?
Yeah. So our Instagram is @_ goGLOW. I personally am at goGLOW Melanie _ Melanie, or
Okay.
yeah. And then of course Facebook, our website is goGLOW.co, not .com.
Okay.
And that's kind of where we show up the most. Of course, we're on TikTok and all the fun things, and every single one of our franchise locations has their own Instagram and TikTok. So that's
Love
fun too. So
it.
you can see what's going on in your local market with goGLOW.
Yay. I know. And are you all over the US or are there certain
Yes.
pockets in the US where you're the
We are,
strongest?
yeah, we are coast to coast. Right now, we have a little over 20 doors open in this past, I want to say 6 months. We have another 30 or so for the end of the year. And yeah, we are from California all the way over to the Carolinas. So it's pretty spread out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for hanging out today and sharing all your goodness on entrepreneurship and wellness and everything else we talked about in between.
Thank you for having me.